All right, we're back, and look who I have. I have
Hey.
Dominic Bazil with me. So, MVP Loops, freaking cool guys, right?
Awesome guys.
So they are like probably one of the most unique, content providers in the fact
Yeah.
that,
Love their stuff.
not only do they make great content, but you can tell that these are real,
Yeah.
hardcore, proper musicians and
Definitely.
producers. So huge respect. We really appreciate having their stuff in our shop and them being a part of Studio One. So another great partner for Studio One and for our shop has been the Sample Magic people.
Right.
And
Yeah, Sample Magic has provided some new content for us in the likes of Impact XT. We have 1,000 new one shots and loops, also 49 kits and 25 music loops.
Right on. So not just electronic content, we also have now some brand new acoustic drum content. So Tom Breckline is one of the greatest session drummers, live drummers. He played with Chick Corea, played with Eric Johnson, Robin Ford, the list goes
Everyone.
on. Everybody. So he actually came down to Baton Rouge and we did a sample library with him. And this is also going to be available with Studio One version 4 in the near future. Going back to some of the stuff that the guys were talking about with Impact XT, why don't you give us a little spin?
Sure, let's do it. All right, so here we are in Studio One 4. I'll drag over my Impact XT there. All right, so empty, but let's go over to our browser, and you'll see that we have a list of all of the new content from Sample Magic. So let's just choose this guy, drag and drop.
Sweet. Nice blue.
Yeah, nice blue, and if you want a different color, just click here.
Nice.
Toggle through all the different colors. Let's try green here. All right, so we have a kit here, and just to kind of reiterate some of the features, you can load all of the 8 banks of 16 pads in Impact XT, so you have a total of 128 pads that you can load with samples and loops.
Nice.
All right, you have different loop options. You can toggle or trigger loops. You can also have them loop and just keep looping, as well as follow the transport and your global tempo. We give you tons of different choke options. Like I said, you can follow the tempo. There's quantization to the beat, so that when you trigger a sample or trigger a loop, it'll lock with the transport that's already running.
Nice.
Then we also have we have additional output options for you. So we expanded on the stereo outputs as well as the mono outputs.
That was a huge request.
That was a huge request. Impact XT is really built for you to just create an entire production within itself. Honestly, you can do that with all the options that we now give you. New filters, new filter options. Everything is there for you. You can just create a whole production right in Impact XT.
Cool. So let's talk about one of the new features with Studio One version 4. A lot of people had asked for step sequencing, you know, and so we've come up with a new pattern editor. So
right, we call it the pattern editor, which is basically a step sequencer. So let's create a new pattern there, and double click, and this opens the pattern editor for me. All right, so in its empty state, in its default state, you have 16 steps at a resolution of a 16th note, but we also give you the option of expanding on that. So I'm gonna choose 32 steps. All right, and then now we can just simply start clicking in the grid.
Just drawing in.
Just drawing in notes. Let's see, I can audition my sounds here. So here's a clap. Let's put that there, maybe there. We'll run the transport. All right, put another clap there. So at this point, I mean, you can really get creative by just drawing in anywhere. You know, we give you options for changing the velocity. You can automate these things for every note, for every lane. You can also repeat certain steps. So for instance, in the clap lane, we'll repeat this. All right, let's see, over here, repeat this. Another cool option with the pattern editor is that you can, let me stop this, is that you can actually change the number of steps per lane. So for instance, this clap lane, let's change this guy. Instead of 32 steps, let's do 29. All right, so what this is going to do, I have 3 less steps than everything else in the sequence. So when it loops around, it's going to give it a little randomization there.
Right, so they're not going to fall on the same
Right, they're not going to
places.
fall in the same spot every time that it loops around. You can also change the resolution of each step. So now I have a smaller resolution on that particular lane. Many, many options. Another cool feature about the pattern editor is that you can have variations. So you can create a new empty pattern, or you can take a pattern that you have already, duplicate it, and then change maybe a couple of the notes. Maybe I want to take these out. All right, and so now I have variations. So I have this guy, and I have this guy. So what do I do with that? In my arranger, I can now duplicate this pattern, which is exactly the same. All right. And so what I have selected here is variation 3. But maybe on this guy, I want variation 1. So now I can start building my arrangement with different variations of patterns that I've built in the pattern editor.
So that's amazing because you can see in just a couple of seconds you can it's pretty much like the sky's the limit.
Yeah, definitely. With the new options in Impact XT and the pattern editor, very powerful creative tools for you.
All right, so next we're going to hear from 2 of my favorite PreSonus artists, Catfire and Heavy Grinder.
Yeah.
They're producer, DJ, husband and wife team that are based out of Los Angeles, California. Longtime Studio One supporters and PreSonus friends. So let's check them out.